my wife Manish and I have one child, Parth. He was a dream child. Empathy at its highest. I used to feel dwarf in front of him. On 12 September 21, around almost 4 years back, he chose to end his life. And our world has taken a complete shift because no parent can be ready for this.
When we lose someone, it's grief. But when someone around us chooses to leave, that's grief, pain, coupled with their innate anger and guilt.
In situations like this, when suddenly there is an episode or something that happens to a person, there's so many emotions, of course, grief, and then, it takes a while before one even comes to understanding.
If someone is going through an underlying depression, which the person also doesn't know and nobody around them will also come to know, feeling suicidal is one of the very, very strong symptoms of depression.
And the whole question is, how do you process it? Nobody can do for yourself. You have to do it.
It's the nature of the mind to look for a reason. Why did this happen?
A very warm welcome to another episode of our Think Right podcast. And what we have today is a very inspiring story of somebody who's been a medical doctor, a person who has really brought about and changed the healthcare scene in India. We call him a health warrior for this country. The country lead and deputy director of the Gates Foundation, Dr. Devendra Khandait. Very warm welcome to you, Devendra, and thank you for joining us on this podcast.
It's absolutely.
And of course, alongside Devendra, we have our ever-radiant spiritual guide and, the symbol of wisdom, Sister BK Shivani. Very warm welcome to both of you. Devendra's story today is, of course, of all that he has achieved in helping eradicate polio in India. 150,000 cases to zero today. And, in that journey, you have really taken on a mammoth task to bring so much change in society. I think it must have had to deal with superstition of taking a vaccine. How did you do that? What enabled you to make that happen?
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and sharing the dais with both of you. It's just an honor. So polio eradication is something makes me nostalgic all the time. But polio eradication is the effort of everyone. It's a Mahayagya. Everybody put its ahuti there. I also put something. But that's the effort which is laid by the governments, by the people, by the leadership there. January 2011 was the last time India saw the polio case, either in humans or sewage or environment anywhere. There was a time and there were times when the entire world was believing that it is not going to be possible for India to finish this task. Because there were several challenges. Population density, sanitation, the overall health system, and that what all that made is the biggest reservoir of the polio transmission. And to handle that, हर व्यक्ति ने अपनी अपनी आहुति दे दी उसमें. In spite of multiple political changes, the political prioritization of the disease remained constant. There were people who put everything to convince the last mile, and maybe someone, the influential, the spiritual leaders, the teachers, the occupational leaders, the celebrities, everyone. There were people who just focused on how do we convince the families, because there was superstition that if I give the polio drop to the child, probably it is a population control measure. So how do you convince the mother that, and she wants all the good for her child, that no, this is helpful for your child and this is not harmful for your child. So there were several colleagues who did that. But one of the important aspects of polio eradication was, many times we sit in our own laurels. Country as it is 99%. 90. So the whole effort of polio eradication towards the later part was, how do we find that one child or 1% child, which is not there in the maps, which is there in the bricklanes, which is in the nomadic places, which is on the construction site, which is in the railway station, which is otherwise missed. How do we reach that? And India achieved this because people put their sweat and blood behind it. India achieved this because India thought ki we can do it. Whatever world may say, we will do through our innovations, intense micro-planning, targeting the child, targeting specific families, put all the stakeholders together. And I had an opportunity to, and the innovations, both in the field of vaccines and the operational one, I had an opportunity in the process to lead some of the large teams, to be in the very pristine areas of the Kosi River inside the Bihar and slums. I could stay in 200 districts in India during the process. So it was all, it's just an amazing feeling.
I can imagine. So all of Bharat, it got into you, and now you've taken up an even bigger challenge for India under the newborn policy to for neo-mortality, to kind of see how that, for India, which was 44 per thousand, I think in 2010, to bring it into single digit by 2030. I think we're already halfway there. Tell us a little bit about this journey and what inspires you to do so much in this space of health for the country, with children, with families, with that true Bharat, experience that you just talked about.
So, I think to me, it is not that whether you are saving 100 lives or 1 million lives or you are a nimitta there. And on top of it, it is like, what is our intent behind it? So, polio eradication was a great accomplishment for the country, but it was a singular disease. But if you look at the overall health, it is not that India is going to be affected, or our children are going to be affected, or the mothers are going to be affected by the single disease. There will be a plethora of ones. And that's why the whole system, the whole effort to about, okay, how can I give my ahuti or play a small, that little role in strengthening the health system so that the states are ready to tackle any disease. And it is not then, it doesn't become one specific one, because it will be the issues of human resource, supply chain, data for decision making, how do we reach the community, how do we look at the behavioral sciences, how we look at the hardware, software, everything together. But just I wanted to say that all these efforts are primarily led by the governments. And we get an opportunity and we feel honored to play that small little role. So I will be very, very conservative in saying that my role is big one. My role is extremely small one.
That talks wonderfully about your humility. And I think if everybody could imbibe that, and we are all just playing our little role to make larger good happen, I think we will live in a far better world. Let me move to you, Sister Shivani. Like India, right? We spend 3% of our GDP on health, right? So it's not a very large amount, right? Of course, private sector, everyone works together. But even then, in that scarcity, and like we hear stories like this inspiring, the effort that goes in beyond just the money to make this change happen, what are those emotions, right? I mean, is it being grateful for having an opportunity? Is it grateful for, being able to at least live a good quality life. What are those emotions that we should strengthen further, as we think of India and this large country where we want to, change the quality of lives of so many.
What was very beautiful in what Devendra ji was sharing was the collective consciousness of the country. Even if one person makes an effort, it's not possible to create such a big change. But the collective vibration is what created the miracle, where a few people would create an intent with humility, but when they take that intent in a very powerful manner and then it just creates a ripple effect and everybody agrees with that intent, and then very soon other people will make it their intent, and then that ripple effect. So it's like from the seed to the tree, which the tree will cover everybody, but it has to start from the seed of a thought of one soul who will take a decision. But what creates the result is not one person's intent. It does not even create a result just because the government has that intent. Till it becomes the tree's intent, which means the whole tree is getting watered with that same energy. So I was just thinking, like, if we could eradicate polio, because the government created that intent, administrators created that intent, people joined you, and very soon it created a ripple effect in the country. And even people who were superstitious about it, they agreed and they came. What if today we had to create another intent? It's time to say we want to eradicate depression from the country. Because otherwise it's an epidemic. So it's all about one intent. And what is adding power to that intent is his humility. Because sometimes with the intent comes success. And if I don't take care, then with success comes ego. And with success, when comes ego, then the power and purity of the intent starts diluting. So with a pure intent, with success, humility is there, intent will only create more power. So the seed becomes powerful. But if there is ego, then that seed becomes weak. And if the seed is weak, then the tree will not be healthy. The fruits will not be healthy. So the one creating the initial intent will have to see that humility is there with that good intent. And then everybody joins with that same intent. I think we can take up another mission today of eradicating depression from the country. Because if we do that in the country, then we can also become ambassadors to share it with the world, because the time has come to eradicate it from the world.
And the more we work with it, we know the mind's impact on the body is anyway very strong and very powerful. So if we can address something, so there you've got a new challenge. And I think, all the people who are listening to our podcast, this is a journey where everyone has to come and participate to be able to share positivity or do whatever you can to really make this change happen. Coming back to you, Devendra, I know that there is a deep personal story, your personal loss of your son. I know it's a very hard discussion to have, but it's something that I think, we all deal with in society, loss and grief. And I think it's important, for people to understand how does one really first accept it and then really, make a life shift that can enable that to happen. Can you share a little bit about what gave you the strength and a little bit about that story?
So while you are running for the long-term goals and the short-term goals, something happened, and the big happened, and something which was too big to even comprehend what has happened. So my wife Manisha and I have one child, Parth. He was 22. He was doing in BTech, and thanks to COVID, he was with us because he had come from the university and was with us. And on 12 September 21, around almost 4 years back, he chose to end his life. And our world has taken a complete shift because no parent can be ready for this. And several questions will haunt you. It continued to haunt us, but it haunted us. And I can tell something more about him. So he was a dream child. Any parent can have. a musician, a computer. I don't know hardly. I hardly know about computers, but many people told me that he is a tech wizard, etc. Um, Empathy at its highest. I used to feel dwarf in front of him. He will spend his entire pocket money on the street dogs or street children, or he will give his all, whatever he get to the security. So his empathy, the only time he will dismiss us when we will start negotiating with the vendors, etc. And we used to have the best of discussions and all possible. Our discussion go to the all possible directions. And there was a Ganesh festival, and we brought, and we being from Maharashtra, we celebrated Ganesh festival for 10 days. We brought Ganesh idol. With the help of him, we installed the Ganesh idol. And I had to leave to Lucknow for some important meetings. I left. He was to leave to UBC for joining back the next day on the 12th. So I came late on that day. It was late flight, and it was like at around 11:30ish, around midnight. We had around 30-40 minute discussion. How was your day? And he was the farewell dinner with his friends because he was going back. I said, who did puja? And he said, I did. And I said, oh, not so much in favor of God also has to do and all that. So we had a fun also. And then he went to his room. I was distinctly seeing he is low, and I was not sure why he is low, because he had chosen this college in spite of not my preference, and we agreed to him. So I thought, is there something? But I thought this is a low moment. Let me discuss with him in the morning. But that discussion never happened. He went to his room at 12. I worked till 1 a.m. I went to my room. And just 3-4 hours after that, I was awake. I was just taken to a place where I was with his lifeless body. And I think, but before I speak about anything which remotely suggests that what is healing process and what works and what doesn't work, etc., I just wanted to say one thing. I am not a healing expert. I don't know different contours of why it helps in particular way. And this is such a short time that I don't know even the long term what it will be. But it's a father who has gone through this for some time, who has started trying to live life again, little shakily, but yes. So, and I realize in the process that people look at, are there someone like us who are undergoing these strange emotions? So I thought maybe if you allow this, may be helpful, something like that. And if you ask me what has helped me healing and moving on, and to your question, actually I don't know. It is like, and I was asking myself in the morning, do I know the answer? And I was thinking of an analogy where you are put in a dark room and you have to switch on the light, and you are trying to put your hand on some switches, and somewhere the light came. That doesn't mean that you know exactly which button actually clicked that light, right? So there are some things which might have helped, which might. So that's the lens with which I just I am coming.
Thank you. No, thank you for sharing this. I know when we were just discussing, it's something you've never spoken about before.
Yeah.
But again, your intent of, I think you mentioned that can help others who have faced similar challenges, better deal with this. But I completely get what you're saying, in that instant when that light comes, takes you up, and then when you question further, you don't even know how long that light is going to last, how do we make sense of it, and can completely understand and relate to what you're saying. And I think everybody actually feels that spark of, a little thing that gets you up, and then that's the human life. But, I'm going to therefore turn to Sister Shivani, that in situations like this, when suddenly there is an episode or something that happens to a person, there's so many emotions, of course, grief, and then, it takes a while before one even comes to understanding what it means and what it could mean from a long term. How should one, face situations like this?
When we lose someone, it's grief. But when someone around us chooses to leave, that's tougher. Because that's grief, pain, coupled with their innate anger and guilt. Even though we may not be at all to blame. But still the mind, it's the nature of the mind to look for a reason, why did this happen? Even if it's a natural death, our mind will keep saying, why did this happen? Or how we could have done this, we could have done that. Like the other day I met someone, she lost her husband. It was a cardiac arrest. She rushed him to the hospital. The grief is on one side, but the mind is saying, but I could have done this. I could have done it 5 minutes faster. I could have not gone to the hospital. Instead, I could have called the doctor here. So mind will always want an answer. And in the moment of grief and pain, we tend to blame ourselves that I could have done something better. I could have done something different. This is happening even in natural death or in an accident. So, but when a family member, a child, chooses to leave, it's very tough. Pain is there, but it's the innate anger and the guilt which is not even going to allow the pain to heal actually. It's like my hand is wounded. If I give it little time and I apply a little medicine, it will start getting better. But my guilt and anger hammers that hand every single moment, saying, what is it that I didn't do right for this to happen with me? So that's why that grief to heal is... So before we heal the grief, we have to heal the guilt and anger. Otherwise, this grief is not going to heal. Mm-hmm. Because even people around have a lot of things to say at that time. I mean, we've heard parents share that even if you're in the lift of our building and there's somebody else in the lift with you, and they said the way they look at us has changed. And that look is not coming with compassion. That look is not coming with love and respect. That look is coming with a very big question mark. What did you not do right? So your own grief, your own guilt, your own anger, coupled with all this energy that you get from people around you, because people also think there has to be something that was wrong, that's why the child did this. So it is this question which people need to first answer, so that one, of course the one who goes through it, it's a long journey. But what about the people around that family? They can play a very important role. We just saw, right, collective energy can heal. But sometimes collective energy can also make it difficult to heal. So that's very important, that we always don't need to look for an answer. Why did this happen? Whose fault was it? Whose mistake was it? Who could have done something better? It is not necessary that it's always going to be that way. And now, this was 2021. We met in 2022 or
December
23? 22. But after 22 to now 25, I suddenly feel I know so many parents. When I met Devendraji, that was probably just in the initial, this post-COVID phase. But after, in fact, I have introduced him to so many parents. And I've seen the miracle that it creates, because we talk to them for hours, explaining the journey of the soul, explaining the vibration. But yet they will look at us and say, like, you don't know now what we are going, which is so true, which is so true. Yeah. But the minute they sit with him, it's a very different thing. And I just see them And like from a distance, I keep looking at them, they're talking. I say, what are these people talking? I need to learn from them. What are they talking? But it's not about what they're talking. It's just to find someone who understands what I'm going through is just so comforting, because the rest of the world just doesn't understand what we're going through. Because we were used to death. We know we are all going to leave. But this thing which has suddenly increased of children choosing to live like this is not something that the human mind is able to comprehend right now. So when he says, I'm not a healer and I don't know how to heal, just being with him, I've seen people feeling better. Just, I see them from, because I keep watching from a distance, like what is the shift that's happening? And suddenly the mind, which was so anguished, is like calmer. Because, okay, here is one person who just understands me completely. And here is one person who has taken charge of life again and chosen that to become his purpose of life. To, handhold. Even if we don't say heal, it is like handhold. But if you handhold somebody, they have the strength to get up themselves. So I really see the difference. From 2020 to now 2025, the number of parents we've met, it's shocking. That's why I was saying, like, let's work on depression, because otherwise these numbers will keep increasing. So like he shared, he was low. Now feeling low is a normal thing. It's not the first time that we are feeling low or a child is feeling low and going to university. Obviously there are issues. Now it's changed. So our generation, the parents now, are not used to it. This is a new thing that is happening. So we have to start understanding the difference between feeling low and feeling depressed. We will not come to know the difference because we're just used to seeing people feeling low. So we say this is normal. But what parents or anybody who's lost somebody like this needs to understand, that it was not just a low feeling. It was a depressed feeling which was not visible. It's not visible. Nobody chooses like this just out of the blue, like, I go into my room and do. It doesn't happen like that. But if someone is going through an underlying depression, which the person also doesn't know and nobody around them will also come to know, feeling suicidal is one of the very, very strong symptoms of depression. It is that thought will just come to my mind. I don't want to live. There's no purpose of living. It will just come like one. It's like if I just suddenly get this thought, I have to throw this cup down. It will come to me so fast that I will not even have the time to, logic and should I throw it? I'll just pick it up and throw it. And somebody will be like, why did you do this? Why did you suddenly just pick up and throw this cup? I don't know why that thought came to me. Because it's not my thought. It is a result of a little illness that I'm going through, which me and others around me don't know about it. So first and foremost, stop hammering yourself saying, did we do something wrong? Were we responsible for it? No. That guilt needs to first go away. Only then healing will start. So it is in majority cases, I will feel, because in all the parents that we've spoken to, they didn't know that there was a reason, barring one or two, that yes, there was this something terribly wrong going on in the child's life. In majority, there was nothing majorly going wrong. So many parents have said, the child just came back from school, put the bag there, just jumped up, went to the terrace. Suddenly nothing can happen, right? So it's not that there is a tragedy going on in somebody's life, or there's some failure, or there's a rejection. Many now are happening without any failure, without any rejection, without any crisis, without any tragedy. And the underlying cause is symptom of depression. So together we really need to work on this, because we will not always be able to see that depression. We think depression means, feeling low, not going out. That is a later stage. So guilt needs to be worked on. Personal anger needs to be worked on. And society, putting a finger on the parent, needs to be worked on in a very big way. Because it's a very, parents ne kuch kiya hoga, ya parents ko pata nahi chala, ya very thing very loosely. Parents ne dhyan hi nahi diya bacche ki taraf. So it's a very loose talk to even think like this, leave alone saying like this. So I think we need to first release the guilt and the anger. Healing takes a little time, but don't hammer it with those thoughts. We meet couples who will start fighting with each other. Blame game. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The grief doesn't get time to heal because we hit it with other things. We've seen couples who've separated. They don't want to live with each other anymore because they're fighting so much after that. because they're blaming. You shouldn't have said this that day. You would have kept quiet. That's the thing. So first we have to take care of those emotions. Then the mind will get that space to heal. First it's this anger, aggression, blame game, guilt. This needs to be worked on first.
And I think once you work, or at least understand that this is what needs to be done, then the healing process can start. And while you said you're not a healer, but from what I've heard, it's that human connection, Devendra, I think, and we so underestimate that, right? When people meet others and say, okay, here is somebody who I can trust or who understands me, like what you said, because we see that not only here, but across generations. Today, my kids or young kids, they will say, you don't understand us, right? It's a very important, feeling and emotion that somewhere we completely miss, right? So when you spend time with, others, and now you've made it a large part of your mission to help them, and probably that is giving you the strength also to see how, I know it's very hard to discuss these things, but what does it take, when you, what do you feel that people don't understand? Because if you want to bring awareness and change in society, what does it take?
I think it's a slow process. Didi said acceptance. Acceptance is a slow process. Very slow process. Healing is a slow process. And grief is not a disease which you can cure. But I think in my case, whenever I think about the last 4 years, the strongest emotion is of a gratitude. And it is not because gratitude is a good thing to say. I think it is in my I feel like entire universe was conspiring to make me soother and soother. The whole lot of friends will come, they will share their stories, they will share their deep pains, they will share their resources, link it with someone who is going through similar one. One of my friend has just traveled in initial days, I remember. She just make it a practice to put us to sleep. Start the mantra, put us to sleep, take over, and she will just, for 2-3 weeks she was there just to do that. All this because in the healing, in initial part, it is how do you come to a basic normal? Because there is a new normal. And as Didi mentioned, the whole ecosystem plays a very, very important role. My friends around the world, in India, from various parts of India, they almost like they were running my house for several weeks and few months. And then, but the question, while it is soothing and while it is great, you are starting some basic rituals, in the sense, basic ritual. Even taking a bath becomes a ritual. It's an effort. Being ready becomes a hard effort. I think there are two emotions which were running like big one. One is whether there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And there are several things which has probably enabled this. Maybe, and I can just, when I look back, it looks like just walking in the garden, walking in the nature. Nature, I don't know what it has got the unique ability. It helps you to heal in a different way. It sends signal in such an interesting way. You will suddenly see I still remember a distinct image of a new tree, fallen new tree. And I thought, oh, in nature also there will be times where usual pathway will not happen. I think for us, probably at that point of time, meditation practice. We were very blessed to get the guidance of Didi. We were in the spiritual retreat in Mount Abu, in the company of the spiritual masters. That played an important role. I think 2-3 things. One is, while we were struggling, we wanted to live away from everyone. While they were all loving and it was soothing, I do have a gratitude, very complex emotions. But I want to be closer to my child, who is no longer there. And 2 things I remember. Okay, we used to tell, and I and my wife Manisha used to discuss, what will make Parth happy? And he used to love dogs, street dogs. He had introduced us once as their best friends. So Manisha will cook food, and we will go we will little scared, but we will go and feed them, and we will feel connect. I remember in the initial days, some of the street dogs just near our society will only come and hug Manisha, and she had never touched them, never seen them. They will not ask for any food, but they will just hug. I don't know what it is. Eventually, we used to appreciate dogs, but we will not put it at our home. But then I discussed with my friend, and this next day that friend just handed over the puppy and that Bruno, and the feeling to be loved and to love is a very basic human need. And when you lose your child, suddenly that oxytocin, where do you keep? So you need another outlet for your oxytocin release, right? And this whole and another, then Mango came, and this Bruno Mango, like we live in their house nowadays, then they living with us. And Parth's friends, Parth had a very small group of friends. They were struggling. They were at an intense friendship. One of his friends told me that Parth will tell her that life is beautiful whenever she is low. And now he has done this, how can I survive? They will come every week, almost every week. They had almost taken upon themselves to take care of us. And being in the company of them and understanding newer facets of Parth gave us a different kind of a feeling. At the same time, some purpose, because I used to tell, and I distinctly remember this emotion. Whenever I will meet you, Parth, I can very proudly say that, look, your friends were struggling and I was just holding their hand. And one of the things, in addition to this, is like, during this time, some of the friends, many friends came, shared their deep internal stories, grief stories. Some new ones came, as if universe had just conspired to send them in your life. And it becomes like an informal network. You share, and then suddenly you find someone who understands you, who knows what you are saying and not saying. And when Didi was saying about me, I'm just, in all candidness, I'm saying, universe has given me this much in my difficult most moment. I think I am not that ungrateful, that not give back. I have to be, the way the several people help me, how can I help is a very natural extension of what you received. You don't want to, you have to close the scores here. You have received, how can you give in multiple, so that at least,
Yeah, I think giving has power, like we always discuss, and gratitude, from what you say, I think builds real resilience, right? Because it enables you to be in a position where you feel, abundant to be able to do something, right? And it's a very hard emotion to get to when times are, tough. And first thing people will say, so many things are going wrong in my life, and how can I be grateful? I mean, I'm sure we hear many people, talk about that. But at that point, to make the shift is so important. And it changes, it creates wonders in your life, I'm sure that there is a link there.
It's a loss which you cannot have that person back in your life. How to heal the pain? The vacuum will always be there. So that's one thing. We're not talking about that. That vacuum will always be there. But can we shift to remembrance from love and gratitude rather than remembrance with pain? That's the intention. Remembrance will be at every minute. You don't have to remember your child. It's difficult to forget. That is the thing. It's that natural. But remembrance with love and gratitude, not remembrance with pain. How do we shift? That is healing, basically. And that healing cannot happen with words. That healing cannot happen with any amount of knowledge. That healing only happens when you take up certain steps which are going to raise your vibrations. It's going to energize you. So that is healing. So I remember very clearly when they came first time to the center. You were there for about 2 hours that first time. Hardly any minute when she was not crying. And we had not even come with the intention of talking. I didn't know. In fact, it's not just them. There were 4 or 5 people that day who had come this way. She was crying continuously. You cannot tell a person don't cry. It's his loss. There's nothing. He can't think of any other feeling or emotion. But by the time they were there for 2 hours, it's the vibration. It's the energy. And then just a few days later, we went to Mount Abu. Now, 3 days when you're in a place where you're also getting time to be silent, to meditate, you're absorbing the vibrations of the place, you're listening to a few things, a little bit of this will fit somewhere into what I'm going through. But it's not what we hear, it's what we absorb is what gives strength. And I think that 3 days made a lot of difference in how the journey moved forward. So it's surprising how 3 days can make so much of a difference. It's because innately every soul is so beautiful. It's so clean, so powerful that they're able to just absorb the energy like a blotting paper. And all that we need at that time is vibration, that energy to strengthen ourselves. So instead of thinking that, the main thing is people at that time feel that they can never feel fine. I mean, I meet people who say, I can never be happy again. I said, but we're not talking about being happy. But we're just talking about being strong, not about being happy. We're talking about being strong. And the only intent that even lets them move forward on the journey is the same what he said. What will path like? So what will path like? So which means that soul who's moved forward from our family, what will they like right now? Because spiritually, one thing very beautiful, we understand that death doesn't mean it's over. Death just means that the soul has moved forward and the soul can catch your every vibration, your every thought, your every feeling, your every word, everything. So just take a pause and say, what will that soul like right now? What will my child like? My child will like to see me fine, comfortable, ready, going back to work. So when the parent or anyone in a family member understands this, that this I am doing not for myself, because for themselves they don't want to do it. You tell someone, say, no, I don't want to do it. Get to work, no, I don't want to do it. But what will they like? It's that intent which then, because it's love for the family member, no? So, achha, they will like, na, if I go to work, okay, then I'll get up and go to work. They will like, na, that if I get up and I eat something, then I will do it. So it's all happening for that soul. And it really gives a lot of comfort and power to the soul. You visualize, if we move forward, we want to turn back. What do we want to see our family? Don't we want them to see settled, coming back to normal? We're not saying they're excited and happy, but just coming back to normal. The soul is not able to move forward on their journey till they see us normal. That's why in Bharat we have that period, okay, 13 days. Get yourself a little back to normal in 13 days so that the soul can move. So it's like this door. And here we are all sitting and you have to get up and leave from here. But if while you are getting up and leaving, you see that there is all chaos, your sofa is falling, we are tripping, everything, you won't leave. You will just stand at the door and you will keep looking back to see till everything is set. And when you will see everything is set, everyone is fine, everyone comfortable, you will go there. Till then, the soul doesn't leave. How can the soul leave? Seeing their family in pain. They will not. So that's that one intent which every family needs to remember. It's not for me. I don't want to be happy, I don't want to be normal, but it's for them. And when they switch that intent that it's not about me, it's for them, I've literally seen families really creating miracles with themselves. I have to do this for my child. I have to do this. I've seen mothers actually getting up and get ready because I have to do this for my child. He or she has to see me getting ready. She liked me in this dress. And that is not just a story. It's a reality. It's the truth that the soul can see you. And when you start connecting with the soul, you will feel you can hear what they're saying. They're giving you a message. They're sending you something. Without spirituality, we never understand this. We think it's over. They are gone. And so there's no connect. A soul and soul connect is forever. So that is a beautiful intention which helps people to start healing themselves. But I feel that people should do hand-holding by going to any place where there's a higher vibration, a higher energy, and a feeling of selflessness, where you're just getting that selfless energy from people around you, and that will become your strength. So don't sit in your house just because the house has a lot of energy of pain. The house has a lot of energy of pain. Your family that time has all energy of pain. So just make the effort to get up and go out to a higher energy space. You might not concentrate there. You might not hear anything. You might not understand anything. You cannot meditate. Don't do anything. Just get up and go and sit there. It's like just go to a place where there's fresh oxygen. Your lungs will start feeling better. You get energized. You come home. Your vibrations will radiate to the rest of the family. So that little one step is very, very important because everyone takes care of us. Everyone's doing everything. But to energize ourselves is the only thing which will help us to really take back life, charge of life again. And also to remember that like for them, single child. But many families, there's a second child. It's the second child who goes through a lot. Because one, that second child has lost a sibling. But also the parents are so much in pain that the energy going to that child is only pain. And third thing, the child pretends that I am perfect because the child does not want their parents to go into pain looking at them in pain. So the child just suppresses their emotion completely. So we meet parents who say, my child is perfect. They are not crying. They don't realize that it's all so much suppression inside just because they're seeing you so much in pain that they don't want to add any pain to your pain. So that second child goes through a lot of trauma inside and sometimes bottled up emotions for a lifetime because it just didn't get an opportunity to release that. So to remember, yes, there is that pain, but to remember there is a responsibility. So when you just start changing your mind towards those things, then automatically gratitude. And then when you change that vibration, you will start attracting that kind of energy into your life. So the only thing to be doing is don't sit in that grief. Just push yourself a little bit. And everybody, the universe is going to come together to heal you. And most important, that soul also takes a lot of effort to heal you. They also, because when a soul leaves the costume, out-of-body experience is like you can touch anybody to help. So you will actually feel that, how did this person come into my life right now? How did this happen? That soul has the power to touch people to make them go to their house. They have once you leave the body, you have amazing amount of power. So they will literally feel, wow, how come this person came to our house? They will be touched. They will feel like going to their house. So it's just that we have to just tune our energy to that thing and you suddenly start seeing so many things happening around you.
But to what you were saying, particularly about the other sibling, could be your spouse, could be others who are affected. Suppressing that is actually then could be a trigger for a new form of depression in that, right? So I think there's a lot that people can do. I mean, you were mentioning about how others do it, and you had a very different experience where many people came and helped, and but there will be both types, right? So when we talk of roles for other people, right, who either are just visiting or connected. See, we are all an interconnected species. A thought in my mind must be impacting you in some way. We don't know what and how, but we are all. How should somebody who is meeting a grieving person, meet? I mean, maybe you share some experience and then...
No, you must share.
I think
initial phase, I'm a voracious book reader. I'm fed on Ganesh Gauri, and last one. At one point of time, I was thinking about how can I write how the different authors of Bhagavad Gita interpreted Bhagavad Gita over the last 1,500 years. And then you are at its most difficult time and you are trying to find the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And you think there is such a time of self-doubt. I don't want to discount that. Guilt and the self-doubt becomes so dominant, and the whole question is, how do you process it? Nobody can do for yourself. You have to do it. And how the others enable it. I used to wake up in the middle of the nights asking myself, am I accepting this design of a destiny because it suits my narrative? Or am I losing my own accountability because, oh, polio eradication, you, this achievement, you, these innovations, you. You are a flag bearer accountability, and when your most important one is known, who is accountable, right? And that guilt has got tremendous power to just engulf you. How do you process was tough. And I think some expert guidance, some hand of spiritual masters, it may work for different things for different people. I remember during those days when I was struggling with this, oh, my workaholic nature, my less time, my travels, if I would have made this decision, etc. I got a condolence message from Girin Bihari, who was the chief of strategy for Gates Foundation and the country director here. And he was on his deathbed in London. And he was my mentor, so he wrote a long condolence from his deathbed just 3-4 days before he moved on. And there was back and forth that was going on. And finally, just before he moved on, he mentioned, Devendra, I can't write more. I will only say that be kind to yourself. Don't guilt overwhelm you. Children are cipher to us, no matter how much we love them. There is hardly you could have done to prevent this. And that had a powerful help on my processing part. It took time. Because grief comes in waves. You are all right. You suddenly start feeling like, oh, what is happening to me? One day you are smiling. So you are in the office, and office was very gracious. Take as much time, as much possible. But you are in the office, you are working back to back, you are sitting in the cable car, and then you are crying. So I think that's why the role of what the people, many times, everybody has the best intention to support you. Many times, at that moment, mind is not ready to hear some of the words like, oh, this is for the larger good. There may be larger purpose. And the mind screams, why I had to go through this to understand my larger purpose? Right? People, initial part is rather easy, lesser complex. It is more is when becomes the invisible part. People expect you to move on. They have a specific timeline in head. And your mind is saying, oh, grief is the only connect I am connecting with my child. How can I leave that? If I leave that, then what is there? So, I have seen friends who are just holding my hand, who will just sit beside me, who will not offer advice. who will share their stories of it. Mentorship of a spiritual mastery is a completely different level. But day to day, you will not get that mentorship every day and every time. So how all this? So even the choice of the words. I think there is so much people can do about use of the right words. Even that sometimes. Not pushing the timelines. Everyone has a particular journey based on different factors which are beyond my comprehension till now. Some people will come to a new normal little early, some will take time, but it is important that we give them those time.
And there is no right or wrong.
There is no right.
You know, we were discussing before, like
Yeah.
my mom passed away 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And even today, my dad, he says exactly what you just said. He said, my connect to her is through the memory, right? So he would leave a light on when he leaves the room. He feels a presence. It is for each person to find their own way. I'm sure I've figured that out. You and everybody deals with loss. Everyone deals with loss at a stage of life or at a time in a different manner. And I think it's so important for everybody who is there for them to be able to understand and appreciate that each will be different basis, how they are conditioned, because what you always say, sanskars. But, I still think, like what you rightly said, the enablement process for everybody around you, especially to heal grief, if that's what we are saying, or to heal that episode, is so important. And I'm sure people are looking for an answer, because many a times we all go to friends, some who are very close, some who might be distant, but you still want to be there. You go with the right emotion, but sometimes there's, many times it becomes like a social thing. People, I have to go because I need to make my presence felt. People come with different emotions, right? People are there to check a box. And I'm sure the person who's also going there just for that moment is thinking, not feeling good about it. Maybe because there are 50 other priorities working on their mind, but they made it to go. Some who wanted to go couldn't go. So how should this, because this is something I think everybody deals with, right? Even if they don't have the loss, they're part of other people's loss. How should they be?
Always to remember that your vibrations reach people. Especially at such time, even more. It's like if I'm physically unwell, then pain will be more than when I'm normal, right? So when I am going through a low phase, my vibrations will get troubled or triggered faster than when I would be at a find my normal vibration. So what everybody needs to remember, it's not about what you come and speak. Maybe sometimes you don't even need to say anything. Like you said, just come and sit but come and sit in which vibration?
Yeah.
Right? So that vibration is important, because no word is going to change how the person is feeling right now. They just need energy. They don't need words. They don't need knowledge. They don't need advice. They don't need any spiritual advice also. I feel there's nothing we need to say at that time. But all that we can do is internally, either you pray, you connect, you meditate, and just create that energy around. And even if you're not able to go there physically, let's say, but you could be doing that from wherever you're sitting. Collective vibrations of meditation and prayers can radiate healing energy to somebody, even if they're in another country. But going there as a formality, going there because I should be going there, but going there with something else on your mind, or saying, oh, so much traffic, but still I have to go there. It's fine if you don't go. Honestly, it's really fine if you don't know. It's not one of those occasions where anybody is taking you, came to me, or it's not your party that you're going to. So if you're not able to make it, it's perfectly fine not to go. You can go another time. This is something different. This is not a celebration or a wedding where people are checking, did my friends come or did they not come? All that they need is powerful energy. You're not free today, don't go today. You're not free this week, don't go. Pray for them every single day from your place. Don't worry. They're not even thinking of you right now. So, but just make sure that you're not going there with all your stress and with all your worldly things. Don't go and deplete the vibration of another place, because that's not a right karma. On my part, that would not be a right karma to go somewhere and deplete and like, oh, I'm getting late. Why is this prayer meeting not getting over? This is not good karma. You've just come and depleted the energy which needed healing. It's perfectly fine if you're not able to go physically, but wherever you are, meditate there, pray there, and whichever day you're free, go and be there, and with them go and meditate and pray. Sometimes also, like you said, the right words, we tend to repeat that thing which anyways that family has spoken about 100 times, because we feel we cannot talk about anything else. We have to talk about that only. Kaise hua? Kya hua tha us din? Kya? Why? That wound has not healed, then coming there and again. Don't. You can just come and sit in silence. You can come and pray together. I feel sometimes just come and sit and talk about something else. Why not talk about something else? But people feel, how can we talk about anything else? We can. Because even if it's for 5 minutes, it's giving the other mind a little space to think and engage in another conversation. So I think probably this is also something which we all need to learn, that it's our vibrations which are energizing, not our words. No words do healing at that time. But it's an invisible energy, so we have to work on that.
Sometimes we don't know how people themselves don't realize how they're vibrating, right? Let alone someone else realizing. I think, and that's the fundamental
going
shift.
with our clutter and our own thing. It's like going and polluting the other place and coming there. So go with that. The whole, see what we have in the culture of Bharat, that 13 days family will be together, not for mourning, but family will be together for praying, which means to raise the energy of the house, to raise the energy of the family, and most important, to raise the energy of the soul who has to move forward. That was the meaning of those 13 days, everybody being together. So we have to understand the intention behind it. It's the words which will raise the energy. So we can be in silence. There's a family, the mother, she's based in the US. She left the costume last year. So she watched one of the episodes which was coming on TV, and it was about death. And she just learned that, okay, when a soul moves forward, they can catch what we say. And she said, when I switched off, it was the first episode she had seen. So no other spiritual gyan before that. She said, when I switched off the TV, I said, if ever anything happens in my house, I will do this. That, I have to send the right energy to the soul who's moved forward. Exact 7 days from that day, she was the one who picked the phone to hear that her son met with an accident on the way to university and the child is no more. But look at the power of the mind. She just immediately said, I'm not going to radiate pain to my son. Now, this was one intent. And it was in the US, so you don't have so many centers around you. She just found the center and she said, please, can you all come home? And she called those sisters and she said, just meditate here in this house. So now whoever comes, they will also have to follow this, that they should not send pain to my child. She made it like her agenda. I will not let anybody send pain to my child. And she did that for 7 days, those sisters. And like him, she made this the purpose of her life after that. That wherever she would hear somebody lost a member, she doesn't know the person. She will go to their house and she will say, you know what, don't send pain to your child. Don't send pain to your family. And then she would make them do it. So we just need that little hand holding, that it's the vibration that we need to change. He also says the same thing. He tells me, anywhere, anybody know, just let me know. I will go and meet them. He doesn't know them. He said, I will go there. I will go and meet them. Such a beautiful intent.
That what you said, right? That giving, because you've received, you want to just see how to give.
And
more.
there is another aspect to it. If you want to make your line smaller, look at the bigger line. When you will see several pain around you, it is healing in a different way for you.
But there's also one more thing.
Yeah.
It's also healing because you get so many blessings from them that time. There's so many blessings, at that time. It's because when he comes and then he talks to them openly and shares about what he's going through. And even if for a few minutes, like he said, it can take a long time. But even for those few minutes, if somebody feels a little comfortable, that energy of their comfort will go to the one who became an instrument for that. And so his comfort level will start increasing. So giving is a simple way of energizing yourself. You think you're doing it for other people, You
This is for
think
you.
you're doing it for other people,
No.
but the one person who benefits every time is you yourself.
Then what about receiving? When one receives, what should one should be, of course, grateful, happy, but does that become, like in your case, it became a reason to give more, or how should one view it?
So I think I think two dominant feelings. One is, and when I said universe is conspiring to heal you, so it's a gratitude, it's a blessing. Even in this adversity, there is some force which is trying to help you. And naturally that is helping you. But then, okay, it is like in that physics, okay, you get this and then you sprayed it and you sprayed it and all. Yeah. Giving, I think it is for your own healing. Helping others, I don't know how, when I mention that I don't know the enough tools, which tools I am using, that itself is but I think that is helping you more. What it helps, if it helps the other people, great, fantastic. But that definitely helps you, that I can definitely tell you.
So everyone now should make this the purpose of their life. That don't just lock yourself, go into a shell. That's not going to help you to heal. Go out. The minute you're going to connect and share with somebody else, your healing is happening. Because suppose I say something to him, soul on a journey, this is what. So when I'm saying it to another soul, it's first getting recorded here. So every time he's going to talk to another parent, the first person who's going to get the counseling is the own mind who is speaking. So like he said, the receiver has a choice. That maybe half an hour while they're meeting him, they're feeling a little better. But if they don't pick it up more, next day they will forget everything. But the one place where it has got coded every time it is shared about is your own mind. So the giver is the first receiver. The giver is the receiver. So in spirituality we say, dene mein hi lena hai. Lene mein lena nahi hai. Dene mein hi lena hai. Because the receiver has a choice. Giver has no choice. Whatever I give to somebody, I am the first person through which that entire coding is going to go. So if everybody just makes this the intention, whatever is your vacuum, it may not necessarily be death. Suppose like we see in hospitals, there are cancer support groups. So, people who've gone through cancer, they will come there and they will be there with the patients. Every time they're talking to the patient, they're doing that. Yes, the patient is they are benefiting first. So, whatever you feel you've gone through in life, make that your purpose to give to people. Of course, you get a lot of blessings, but you definitely heal yourself while you're sharing with people. Anything, even just your presence or your vibration, you're healing yourself.
No, this is such an important, concept that you just said. Like sometimes I also, we all toil with this, right? And sometimes when you're in the present moment, you're connected, you feel you're just receiving so much. The only thing you have to do is to give because, you're receiving so much, right? And I think today's conversation has kind of brought people, at least, and through your experience and knowledge, to be able to appreciate, how one can, really manage at a time when strength, hope, everything seems lost. But, what is it that can make that shift happen? Of course, we've had great wisdom from Sister Shivani, but, thank you so much, Devendra, for, sharing this story, for actually taking us through step by step, your life, where you rightly mentioned, at some point got, in the light of everything that you have achieved, this learning, this experience has just triggered and shaped something, which you are now spreading across the human race, both here in India, and I'm sure so many people who are listening to this podcast will benefit from, not only in India, but, around the world. Thank you so much for your time here with us. And again, thank you, Sister Shivani, for putting so much, thought and wisdom into what we've been discussing. Thank you. You too can start or enhance your mindfulness journey using the Think Right app on iOS and Android store. It's got a huge number of daily affirmations, daily journeys, daily meditations that will enable us to hold your hand as you move in this transformative journey of life.